Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. We continue on with our derivation. What is the natural definition of sensorality? So where do I want to start with? What do I want to start with today? What is athleticism? Or again, we're trying to develop the right question to ask. Can you be athletic if you are not coordinated? I'm going to go out on a limb and say most people would say no. Can you have athleticism without coordination? And if you said no, the answer is not really the point. Well, it kind of is, but again, we're showing this fundamental differentiation and what is ordinality. In our number system, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, so on and so forth. We've completed ordinality. We have a complete unique categorization. The TH at the end of any number after 3, fourth, and so on is from thing. It's the same TH in front of the, it's the same TH at the end of math, and it's also the same TH in athletic, right? You can't be athletic if you are not coordinated. Coordinated is ordinal. Athleticism is ordinal, right? That TH in athletic is the same exact TH. So that is a big extension and connection. We are going to continue on with our derivation steps, same progress, completing our syllability, working through our conceptualizations, representing them with words, with theorems, to a point of complete reduction that is undeniable and that is direct. And so I finished up my mulching project from yesterday today. I was a laborer outside. All right, Laborality, the title of the last episode. And that is where we start today. Labor is boring, emphasizing the B-O-R at the end of labor and the B-O-R at the beginning of boring. Again, some sort of fundamental differentiation in syllability, letters to solidify this definition. On a personal level, I actually like doing yard work. You get an immediate result. You work for several hours and then you have a nicer lawn, you clean the kitchen, you have a clean kitchen. So I actually don't think labor is boring. The opposite of boring is fun. I would say the opposite, well, in our definition, right, the opposite of boring is productive. Right? Work is productive. Or again, it even, like I said, at this point, the logic doesn't even matter. We're providing some theorems, some conceptualizations, but we just need all of this information is contained within syllability, letters representing the concepts. We just have to get them in the right order. But the opposite of boring is fun. Work is boring. Natural definition, direct iteration. Density is energy. Natural definition, and so again, this order. Shout out to, again, Sabine Hasenfelter, who is a criminal, who tweeted at me, energy density, because Sabine's the physicist and Brad needs to learn. Not Brad's the physicist and Sabine needs to learn, but again, it's this order, same like potential energy, but in reality, it's the syllability is in the wrong order. Energy is the potential for movement, movement potential. And again, that flipping that order gives you kind of like a slang definition, but it's like this contraction, right? We say, what is energy? Movement potential. You say as much as you can with the least amount of words possible. But density is energy. And she tweeted at me, energy density. But that order doesn't make sense. Energy, movement, potential, there is no form to energy. Energy is not located anywhere, right? It doesn't have mass per unit volume. Energy is related to density. Density is density, energy is energy, mass is mass, work is work, power is power, so on and so forth. Right? We have this infinite uniqueness, we have this specialness. There's even a word for it. It's almost like we proved it with our last axiomatic derivation. Oh wait, we did, or at least I did. But density is energy, right? Mass per unit volume has potential to move. Mass has the potential to move. Density is movement potential. Mass has the potential to move. What is power to pleasure? Sensorality is star power. Sensorality is pleasure power. Star power, almost again, that comes from I get like star power. I feel like almost like a Mario video game has some context there. I feel like just a general, he's got that he's got the wow factor, he's got the star power. I feel like that's phrasing from somewhere. Struck me as cultural slang. I can't place my finger where that's from. But sensorality is pleasure power. Again, showing this conceptual evolution through fixed elementality. Sensorality is star power. Sensorality is pleasure power. right? Expanding that form. What is please to polite? Again, the base of please is ease, but then again, right, please, the ease part spells out at the end of the word. I'm wanting to say again, bases, like B-A-S-E-S, but I didn't say bases. Why did I not say that? Who knows? But again, pointing out any logic or anything that comes to mind during the derivation. I want to say the base or bases has to be contained within the whole syllability, like the end letters. Conjecture doesn't matter really, but moving along. Does the universe diversify? Inversion diversifies the universe. So that sounds philosophical, because like I said, even in like fundamental physical ontology, you go into physics class, the universe is like a slang kind of association to conceptualization. Because the real kind of limit, again, you have conceptually is infinity. This idea that information's coming in, it can't slow down, and there's a minimum speed and a maximum speed, but the information coming in is growing always. That is your intuitive understanding of what infinity is. But inversion diversifies the universe. And so it's just a direct natural definition iteration of the base irreducible conceptualization to sound, verse. Right? Inversion diversifies the universe. And so that is a poignant one. Inversion diversifies universality, dropping the generalizing, all based on verse. So now I think we're going to get to some direct iteration of sense in that 3 words defining a variable or creating a definition, but it's all the same, it's all this identity, right? We have this fundamental stability of 2 that will complete, and this leftover syllability that will be the next word form. But inversion diversifies universality. You have one thing, it inverts, that's differentiation. That differentiation's maximum is opposition, that opposition stabilizes, and then that thing tries to differentiate. And that's kind of where you get this imbalance of the size of the proton and the electron. But again, emphasizing inversion diversifies universality is just an iteration of the word verse. Labor, laboratory. Sensorality is laboratory. And then we add a space. Sensorality is lab, oratory, right? The oratory of the lab, natural definition. What is a lab to a gym? Can you cook in a lab? Can you cook in a gym? And then I'm sure another one of these direct iterations of B and V outside of Spanish that everyone has seen in their life. If you speak English, or you get on a plane in the laboratories in the back. What is a laboratory to a laboratory? Made it into a little short video, got 89 views, sweet. What is a lab to a bathroom? What is a bathroom to a ballroom? What is the value of difference? Right? A definition is a difference. It is a unique differentiation. We can restate the fundamental theorem of mathematics. Difference is the product of differentiation. Now wait a second. Back again, you can look at one of the videos I put up. We had a previous fundamental theorem of mathematics. The product of subtraction is difference, or the difference is the product of subtraction is the same thing. But now, right, difference is the product of differentiation. What is subtraction to differentiation? And again, it presented in the exact same form. We said for subtraction previously, that same thing presented as differentiation. What is math to analysis? What is the theme of analysis? What is cynicism to analysis? What is cynicism to agnosticism? What is a subject to subjectivity? Sensorality is subjectivality. Again, anytime I do it, that's one of those, like we did CY is like a weird, it generalizes, and the C is kind of just like an iteration element for the S, where you put like a more K or some sort of like hardening consonant to like break off, to break the word or something. But same type of thing with this V, like subjective, subjectivity, subjectivality. The V is very clear, like phonetically, you can feel it's like a placeholder, and then the V iterates quite a bit to B. Everywhere derives from everything, right? The relationship of one object in relation to another gives us our places, right? Mass exists, so that's how we have a reference to location. And that difference of location is distance, right? Distance is difference. Things exist somewhere. That is true. Existence persists. Sentience is persistent. Persistent, consistent. Life is persistent. Sensorality is oratory. Natural definition: sensorality is oratory iterated by sensory. Right? We've produced this word form, sensorality. Sensory, generalized, produces sensorality. Oratory is now worked in here. Right? We're having some of this fundamental stability of 2 is a numeric iteration limit. And then again, we have, right, ing, gore iterated by ing is ignore, or iterated by in. The one with, like, trying to keep we pointed it out before, again, it's a trivial step once we get our concepts in the right area, but the base word being the one with more syllability, and then the smaller thing being iterated by, right? In plus gore is ignore. Gore iterated by in is ignore. It's how I'm presenting it currently. Again, a trivial step, but walking you through, like I said, every step of anything that pops to mind. And so what is sensorality? And in this iteration, where does it go? We're trying to find our completing syllability. Sensoration is oration. Sensation, oration. Are syllables significant figures? Right? When we're rounding or truncating, where you get introduced to a concept, significant figures. Right? How many syllables, right? How does our irreducibility of association to sound, to meaning, relate to significant figures? Right? Significance, right? Meaning is significant. And so, again, just pointing out anything I can. What is a figure to a digit? What is musicality to mathematicality? What is the theme of music? Key, and it's E, and it's same as math. Sensorality is the theme of music. Sound is the theme of music. Sensorality is the sound of music, TM, right? like the play or whatever. Again, just working through our syllability. Sensorality is a science laboratory. And it's anticlimactic, because once we get to the definition, it's differentiated. So there's no like rhyming, there's no like gotcha, it's just like a very clear statement. Speciality is special with an ITY. There's no rhyme or jingle, it's just directly, literally true. But sensorality is a science laboratory. Is a wheel a circle? Difference in inference. Sensorality is inferality. Emphasizing in this generalization, we go back in the chronology of the alphabet, E to A, inference, inferality, directly iterating that element. The second E from left to right, the INFERE, that one, iterates to the A. Sensorality is inferality. Difference is interference. What is inference to interference? Again, directly, you just put a T-E-R in there or something. Again, just directly literal. Interference distorts information. Right? What is information to interference? Again, getting to some sort of natural inversion. Resistance is interference. Again, conceptually, what's the difference between resistance and interference? It's kind of like the same thing. Linguistically, again, now we're going from resistance with the A to interference with the E, and all of the vowels and the internal part of interference are E. Yeah. What is filtration to interference? Emphasizing the placement of the F's. Velocity is rapid change, right? Not just change, not just distance over time, but rapid change. Momentum is velocitous. There's a lot of velocity to momentum. It's literally mass times velocity. But when you say momentum, right? You're talking about like rapid change. And so velocity is rapid change. We just directly stated it, but that's a big intuitive jump for all of fundamental physical ontology. It's not just slow change, it's rapid change. Rapid, vapid. Again, the R to the V iteration we've pointed out several times, specifically for handwriting. Like, my handwriting's not that sloppy, but the R to the V blurs pretty naturally. Velocity, vapidity, vapid. Vapidity is stupidity. Natural definition, direct iteration, and the fundamental theorem of emotion. Right? What is stupid? Vapid. Emptiness. They don't know anything. Stupidity is nonsense. Sensorality is sense. Sensorality senses stupid. Sean Carroll? Sean Carroll? Huh. Oh, sorry. I had a vision of a criminal. Does orality indicate stupidity? Gather round here, folks. We're going to learn about the dark energy quasar homotopy theory type 4. And it's going to take us 14 million hours to arrive at a proof of 1 + 1 = 2 is 4,000 pages, because we're the great scientists at Harvard. Yeah, that's pretty stupid shit. And so orality does indicate stupidity. In common discourse, people will say, just let them talk. Right? And police interrogations, you just get them talking. Stupidity will just blurt out. Stupidity mixed with a natural, it's difficult to lie. Like, it is not a natural course of events to lie. And so liability, the ability to lie, it's possible, but that's why you have sensory responses. That's why lie detectors, is like, does your heart rate go up? Does your sweat, do you start perspiring? It's a visceral response. Lying is visceral. But the whole concept of a police interrogation is this natural tendency to want to talk about yourself or say what happened or to not lie. And then being fucking stupid is also a good massive factor for that. But that's what they're doing, right? Any sort of interrogation, just let them talk. Anybody that's digging themselves in a bigger hole is just, the other person is literally thinking empirically, just let them talk. Just let them talk. So yes, orality does indicate stupidity. What is the function of orality? Why do we have a mouth? Orality eats. Let me cook. I'm going to eat. I actually already ate. I had Arby's today. And for those not aware, that is a fast food chain in Ohio. It's semi, I don't know if it's through the whole, is it through the whole United States? But I did watch Beard Meets Food YouTuber. He was not familiar with Arby's. It's one of the better American fast foods for sure. But orality eats, and they do have the meats. And so, yeah. That is where I came to athleticism is coordination. Athleticality is ordinality. The TH in athletic is the same TH in all of the ordinal numbers. Massive connection. But now we have a direct example of an inverse linguistically. The inverse of mouth is month. Right, that's complete. If you literally just flip. But see, no, it's not. So letters are chiral. They're not or at least the N to the U is chiral. And again, in standard handwriting lowercase letters. Immediately presenting another question, what is the capital letters, lowercase letters, the shape changes in a variety of different languages sometimes. What can we say there? But month is an inverse, right? If you literally directly flip the N, right? They're chiral. There's no mirror symmetry here, but it's as close to a geometric inverse as you can get. And so then I just have, is this unique? Meaning, right, clearly mouth to month, the N and U are the closest thing. That's the only geometric difference at all, and it's close to as a direct inverse as you can get. Everything is infinitely unique. It is what it is independent to each object, to each thing. But is it unique in the sense of if this is just the first example we've come through naturally, at least in this derivation, if the letter O was something else and it was half, you get what I'm saying, right? if the O was somehow, there was a shape that was half of O and flipped over. I'm trying to think if there's any other just letters that are immediately kind of close. Again, the G and the A, kind of that one is the same type of thing. We talked about that, ability to agility, the B to the G, kind of. But just is the geometry that I'm pointing out for mouth to month, is that an inverse? Is that a unique inverse? You get what I'm saying. Orality, mouths. Vulgarity, mouths off. Sensorality, mouths off. Sensorality depletes energy. Censorship hinders movement potential. What is potential to tension? Again, at this point, intuitively, geometrically, visually, tension immediately iterates to sensation. But again, we're working down, we're reducing all of our logic, proving things along the way, and we're going to force, because like I said before, there's logical out of bounds. And so we'll have something directly like, this is a word, this is not a word, it'll be directly literal, but we're just progressing a definition to its provably reducible. Speciality is special with an ITY. What is sensorality? My rights continue to be violated. We have huge progress as always. I continue to beg for a little bit of money to eat properly, to sleep properly, and to work. Obviously, nobody cares. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.